All right, so ready to dive in. Today, we're all about how art speaks.
Literally and figuratively, right?
Exactly. And we've got a whole mix of stuff to unpack. Art movements, terminology, famous artists, you name it.
Oh, and did you notice that theme, that make my voice heard idea that keeps popping up?
Yeah, it's like artists shouting at us, even without, well, actually shouting.
It's powerful stuff.
Absolutely. And speaking of making a statement, one of our sources mentions this term, chiaroscuro.
Ah, yes. Chiaroscuro.
I gotta admit, it always sounded a bit intimidating,
Well, it's Italian. It just means light dark.
Oh, okay. So it's about how artists use light and shadow.
Basically, yeah. It creates depth, makes a flat surface look 3D.
Right.
But it's more than just shadows. Think of it as like sculpting with light.
Sculpting with light.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
Yeah.
just making something look 3D. It's using light to tell a story.
Oh, I see. Like, imagine you're in a museum, dimly lit, right? And suddenly, bam, there's this painting, bathed in the spotlight.
It makes you stop and pay attention.
It totally does. So chiaroscuro is like a way of guiding your eye, pulling you into the scene.
You got it. Imagine a portrait, right? But only the face is illuminated. Everything else is in darkness.
Ooh, that's dramatic.
Creates intrigue, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
It's like Caravaggio. He used chiaroscuro a lot.
Oh, right. Those religious scenes with the super intense light and dark.
Exactly. Amped up the emotion,
Yeah, he definitely had a knack for the dramatic. Now, speaking of powerful visuals, our sources also mention murals.
Mural.
Those huge paintings on walls.
Yes. They can turn an entire building into a work of art.
Right. And here's a cool connection. Murals often use chiaroscuro, too.
Especially because of their scale, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes those images pop.
So it's almost like the building itself becomes part of the artwork.
In a way, yeah.
Amazing. Now, our source also lists a couple of key terms we hear all the time in the art world. Aesthetic and mural. We kind of toss these words around. But do we really know what they mean?
It's easy to take them for granted.
Right.
Okay, so aesthetic. People often use it to describe something pretty.
Yeah, like that's so aesthetic.
But it's actually deeper than that. It's about the principles behind an art style. The color palette, the composition, the overall feel.
Okay, so it's more than just being visually pleasing. It's like the whole vibe of the art.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the Renaissance has a very different aesthetic from, say, Impressionism.
Right. It's like the difference between a perfectly posed photograph and a candid snapshot.
Perfect analogy. Both capture a moment, but the style and the feeling, totally different.
Totally. Now, speaking of different styles, the source contrasts graffiti with guerrilla art.
Interesting.
They're both like unauthorized art, right?
Yeah.
Often in unexpected places.
So where do we draw the line?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because both can be found in public spaces. Both can make a statement. So what makes them different?
Okay, think of it this way. Graffiti is primarily words and images.
Like spray-painted tags, or even those big murals we were just talking about.
Exactly. Guerrilla art, though, it's broader. Think installations, sculptures, performance pieces even.
Oh, wow.
Even just actions, things that make a statement. Political or social.
So graffiti is more about visuals, while guerrilla art is about pushing boundaries.
And making a statement. Yeah, you got it. Guerrilla art is meant to provoke, challenge the status quo.
Like putting a sculpture in a busy plaza, making people rethink their surroundings.
That's the idea.
That's cool. Now, the source mentions Banksy.
Banksy.
He kind of blurs the lines between graffiti and guerrilla art, doesn't he?
He's a great example. His work is visually striking, but it's also social commentary. It makes you think.
It does. Which leads us to another point from the source. Symbols and interpretation.
Right.
So how do artists use symbols to speak to us? And is there a right way to interpret what they're saying?
Those are the big questions. Symbols are powerful tools for artists.
Yeah.
Take Picasso, for example. He's mentioned in the source.
Oh, yeah, Picasso.
His Cubist style,
Right.
all those fragmented shapes, multiple perspectives, that was a way to represent the modern world. It's complexity.
You mean those broken up images weren't just a stylistic choice?
Nope. They were symbols meant to convey a deeper meaning.
Wow. So there's not necessarily one right way to interpret art.
Rarely. Picasso's Cubism, for instance, might make you think about how we see reality, the fragmented nature of our experiences, or even just the chaos of modern life. It all depends.
So the meaning can evolve. depending on who's looking at it.
Absolutely. That's the power of a symbol. It evokes different responses, different interpretations.
That's amazing.
Art invites us to bring our own experiences to the table, right? That's why the same piece can resonate with people in totally different ways.
So we've come full circle, from the magic of light and shadow to hidden messages in art.
And we've seen how artists use all these techniques and styles to make their voices heard.
It's incredible.
It is. So as you keep exploring art, I want you to think about something. Think about a piece of art that truly speaks to you. What voice do you hear in it? And how does it connect to your own experiences?
I love that. We've given you the tools. Now go out there and experience art in a new way.
With fresh eyes and a deeper understanding.
Who knows what voices you'll discover.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
See you then.